like, my mother would buy pants for Paul and Robert, and he would collect so much a week. And that was unheard of in those days, and really didn't, it was almost like it wasn't accepted. That's how he, I think my mother used to give him like a couple of dollars a week.
Wow. Towards the outstanding balance?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But there was no,
My mother used to buy me suits
for what?
to wear.
Where did you go
Easter.
if you needed a suit?
Easter, I have to get a whole new suit.
Well, that's because you were rich.
You only wore it once every so often, didn't you?
Yeah. I
Isn't
grew
it-
out of it, you just grow old, too big for it.
Ismay was saying that Shirley May was up to Seach School and she was up there as a teacher aide or something. And Shirley May said to Ismay, we're really rich. We have this jar on top of the, on a shelf. It's got all this money in it. It's probably nickels or something. She thought she was rich.
Really? Wow. God bless her. That's all she needs to think she's rich.
Yeah.
Gee.
When she was coming to the school, Ismay and of course didn't know what she looked like. Her name was Shirley May, so they thought she was black.
Shirley May.
Shirley May.
Is her last name Haley? Is it still? Shirley May Haley?
Not now, it isn't. Wasn't she married to somebody named... She's married to the guy that died.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't know if they
I
knew.
don't know if she took that, just didn't have that name anymore.
Maybe.
I don't know. I forget his name. It was a Italian name.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, didn't we met him. Did we go to a wedding? I forget.
Well, he was around for the campaigning for Paul.
Yeah. Huh.
He did a lot of work for Paul.
Wow.
But then he died. He died of cancer.
Wow. Well, that bicycle story is a classic. That bike story, getting the bike stolen when you went in to buy the lock. That was cool.
If he heard that story about you or anybody else, he'd say, "How could they be so stupid? How could they be so stupid?" It's
Just
something he just did recently that I can't believe he did it. Forget what it was. So if anybody else did that, I can't remember what it was now.
I went to the movies, and they drew my name out of a Saturday afternoon.
How'd they know how'd you put your name in there?
Yeah, you put your name in when you buy the ticket. There's something like that. Anyway, I won a scooter. You put your foot on, you paddle with your other foot.
How old were you when you won it? Like 30?
I don't know how old it.
Eight?
That was
8 or 10?
pre-bicycle days. So I was probably 12, 14, something like that. And took it home, left it outside, that was stolen.
How could you be so dumb?
No, he was trusted.
I trusted
He
people.
trusted people.
I trusted people. And there was somebody was stealing my scooter and my bike.
Oh. Wow.
Good thing you didn't have my mother.
So you had the scooter stolen, then the bike stolen. Usually things happen in threes. What else did you have stolen? Did you have like a car or something? Automobile?
I remember the dog you killed.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. I was, how old I was, 8 or 9, something like that. Skippy, a black Cocker Spaniel. Killed right outside the house on Ponset Avenue. And my father, we were all crying. And my father came home. What's the matter? Skippy was killed. So he sat down and cried.
Did he? Oh, well, how long did you have that dog? Must have been a while.
Yeah. Beautiful dog.
Oh, gee, that's too bad.
Dogs used to run free years ago.
Yeah, I remember. Walking to school, they'd come out of the yard after you and stuff.
There weren't many automobiles around in those days. My father had this big black Buick, big square. I don't know what year it was, but he took his sisters, 2 or 3 of them, to Canada for a trip. So he, I guess, Billy and Jimmy, I guess, hadn't arrived yet. Anyway, he took Eleanor on the trip. And so he had Eleanor and two or three aunts to Canada. They were gone for several days. And but anyway, this is from the house on the Ponset Avenue. And I sat down on the curb right outside the house, opposite the school. And that was where I sat. I cried there. I remember crying because he didn't take me. So I don't know how old I could have been. Billy and Jimmy went around.
Must have only been like 3 or 4 years old, right? Because Billy wasn't around. Billy was probably born, but he's probably an infant. Maybe they didn't take you because all you ever wanted to do was cry.
I thought you were going to say your father lost his car.
Oh, he lost the card. Maybe at least that didn't happen.
But imagine he had no qualms about taking the car that old to Canada. That's amazing when you think about it.
Yeah. Well, probably figured there weren't any highways back then, probably. So there were probably gas stations all over the place. You figure you break down, you could get it repaired on the spot. I don't know.
That was,
People didn't know any better, right?
You had to be ready to find overnight cabins. That's all they had, overnight cabins. So he would have to buy probably 2 or 3 rent. Say 2 to 3 overnight cabins.
Right.
But then he had to feed them.
maybe
Yeah.
they paid too. They may have paid too. They might have had money when they were older. They were his sisters. He was married, so they must have had money. They probably paid for it.
Did one of them own the candy store? Didn't somebody in the family own a candy store or a grocery store?
Yeah, further into Dorchester.
Well, that was your grandfather and
My
grandmother.
grandfather and grandmother.
They owned a store on Linden Street.
Huh.
Yeah.
The woman that I know from, I worked in the telephone company with, Irene Fennell, her family lived 2 doors up, and she said that they used to let them,
Run a tab?
I guess that's how he lost the store.
That's right. One of you told me that.
She,
Wow. Extended too much credit.
that's right. Everybody owed her. And she was stuck.
How old were you when she died? Do you know?
Well, yeah, we got married. right?
after that, yeah.
She was at your grandmother was at your wedding?
No, they didn't come, so we went to their house. They lived up Park Street, lived up near Fields Corner.
Yeah.
Oh,
But they had that store. They didn't have the store then, I think it was gone. But they weren't able to come. So after we got married, four of us went up there.
the four of you, meaning best man and
Evelyn and Billy. We went to the house.
wow. They didn't go to the wedding because of their health,
Mm.
just their age, and
Yeah.
wow, that's interesting.
They probably weren't even that old. I don't know.
Did you go up before the honeymoon then, with
Yeah.
Billy and?
Right after the ceremony, I think we went there, remember?
And who was the late maid of honor?
Evelyn Kelly. She was at our anniversary
Trying to
party
figure out who
with
was in
Eddie.
that picture.
That picture, that was their new car. Eddie and Evelyn bought it together,
Wow.
brand new car.
Huh.
Then they got into real trouble with who wanted to use it. And,
Wow. Wow. That's
uh,
well.